Women's Hurling podcast. We are facing into an absolute bumper weekend of Club Camogie. Brought to the association once again with Bourke Sports, our very generous sponsors. You can see here www.bourkesports.ie or norma.clancy.bourkesports.ie for all your gear. See, Barcelona had Savage jerseys on at the weekend, even though they lost on penalties. So they still looked the part. Davey, you're very, very welcome. You have a big game coming up yourselves this weekend.
Yeah, playing Saturday quarter final, so kind of preparations are strictly towards that game the weekend. So looking good so far.
That's it. And look, I suppose when we were all locked down in March, if you were told that to start of September you'd have a quarter final inside the park, you'd be happy enough. In fairness,
that's the thing. Back then, like I honestly thought there'd be no games, and I probably made that clear on the first or early podcast. But delighted that games are back and being run safely. But still that issue with the crowd that lads can't come in and see the game, but that's not something for players to be worried about. No,
exactly. It's not for players to be worried about. It does add to the atmosphere a bit. We played the quarter-final in Kilkenny last week. There was a decent crowd at it now. There was not diving anyone in or anything, but unfortunately one of them ended up doing umpire and tried to wave a clear goal wide in injury time, so there was a bit of chaos, but that's a moment for you, so we won't worry too much about that. But I suppose we better crack on.
Exactly, yeah. As you said at the start, there's a big weekend of club semi-finals and finals throughout the weekend. But I suppose before looking forward to these games, we have to kind of look back and look at one of our predictions. Our predictions there that we had thought was Scariff were going to go reigning Munster champions. Not anymore after the weekend.
No, they're gone. Did call it, got the round wrong. Look, a bit like Nassim back in the day. You know, he used to call it in the third or fourth round. If he won the fifth, he wasn't happy. But no, look, I've changed my tune towards Scariff. In fairness, in the last couple of months, once I've actually got to watch him up close, I was very impressed with him. Great weekend in Camogie last weekend. Watching the live streams, Claire, that was a controversial enough game. Let's call a spade a spade. I think so. I never want to out anyone, but Roisin McMahon, I don't think there was any malice in it, but it was a loose enough pull. Caught her opponent on the face. Would maybe have been a harsh red, but it was certainly amber. It was yellow bordering on red, and 2 minutes later, absolutely Peter Stringered. A Newmarket player going down the middle. Ref kept his card in his pocket, and then up she stepped and banged over the two frees to win it. Always happens, doesn't it? So I was listening to the Scariff radio guys were going absolutely bananas. It was superb entertainment. Just cut the back off the referee. Like, there was no such thing as staying neutral at all. It was brilliant, superb, absolutely superb. But Scariff be a little bit unlucky. But look, hats off to Newmarket. They just absolutely dogged them. You can see they were up for it on the line, they were up for it on the field, and just they were good value for it, in fairness.
And that's going to be a super final as well. Like Aina had a superb win as well. Two really matched teams. It's going to be an entertaining final again, and great credit due to Claire Camogie for streaming the games.
Yeah, massive credit, and I suppose probably the happiest man watching all this would be Gerald Connell. So if you've two club semi-finals of that quality, 4 even teams with plenty of quality on show, it augurs well for the county scene going forward as well. Like Kilmaley were excellent. Evo D gave an absolute exhibition. But I suppose they just ran out of steam. They just couldn't quite get it done in extra time. They needed to get it done in normal time if they were to have any chance at all. 2 great games, I suppose. So that'll be an interesting final next weekend.
Exactly, yeah. I suppose before looking forward to some of the other finals and semi-finals, there's been interesting news about Provincial Club Championships this year, and a bit of controversy as well. Yeah,
I suppose I'm not sure if it's news so much, but it was brought to our attention that Limerick had kind of set their championship up wrong, in that they had the county final down for a week after their champions were due to play in Munster, right? Now, I suppose this raised the issue that when the fixture programme was released and they said that there was going to be a provincial club championship, it said it was going to be after Christmas, and everybody kind of just took that. But I suppose because of that, we've been made aware that the Munster Club Championship is going to be played on the 4th and the 11th of October. And of course, the Senior All-Ireland Championship for counties is starting on the 18th of October. So you could have a situation like last year's final was Drummond and Scariff. So you could have a situation where Tipperary and Clare are both out in the championship on the 18th of October, and their 2 biggest clubs are playing a Munster final 7 days before it. So it's not really ideal. For those. It's different in Leinster. The Leinster club isn't on until January, which I think gives like a lot of county finals as we talk about here now, like Dublin are on the weekend, Wexford are on the weekend, Kilkenny are down to semi-finals, Offaly are down to semi-finals. So a lot of counties will actually be able to go back training full time in about a week or so. So yeah, it just seems that it's been skewed a little bit against the Munster teams, but we don't know if that's set in stone or not, but it appears that it is. So it's an interesting call. But, so while Ger might be very happy to have all the talent on show, he might be too happy when he only gets to see half of them for the first time 5 days before they go to the championship. So,
but that's the thing. Like, literally, if the final will be on a Saturday or Sunday, the inter-county team are going to be out the following weekend. Like, if you win,
what would you do, Davey?
but on a serious note, like if you win a Munster club or you lose a Munster club, there's a couple of days celebration or that transition period before you get into the mindset of going back to your county. But this year there's just not time for that, which is awful unfair probably to the players as well, who will be winning a Munster championship, that they won't have the time to celebrate it. And
it's probably the county that are going to lose out, isn't it? Because let's call a spade a spade. Like, it's whichever team, like it's the team that you have the trophy in your hand and the point in front of you. That's the team you're concentrating on the Sunday evening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's probably harder maybe for the team that gets beaten, I suppose. Like, if you lose a Munster club final and the disappointment of that, to try and, I suppose, pick yourself back up, go back out training again a couple of nights later and try and motivate yourself again to play. And hard for the managers as well to try and slap players in. They probably have a month's training, month's challenge matches done without these guys, and then you have the decision to make. You know, okay, they've been our best players over the last couple of years maybe, but you know, do you just slot them in and hope for the best, or what do you do? And I would slot them in. Always put your best 15 on the pitch, always. But yeah, it's tricky one.
Is there any room for inter-county managers to come from Munster to come together and try something to postpone maybe? Or
there'd be a lot of agendas going on there. Like, I don't know, be too much politics involved, I'd say. It would make perfect sense to postpone it till January and just look. Like, the Provincial Club Championship in Leinster is only 3 teams. I think it's Wexford, Dublin, Kilkenny. In Munster, it's 4 teams. There's Waterford playing the intermediate. So there's just 2 rounds. So literally the whole championship from start to going up the steps in Croke Park is 4 rounds. You could easily play that in January, February. But yeah. Look,
yeah, it's a strange one.
Strange one. But look, that's camogie.
We crack on anyways. We look forward to the first final, especially in Dublin now. So we've last year's Leinster champions St. Vincent facing St. Jude's. It's going to be a cracker.
Yeah, it looks like it. I suppose the first thing I'll say about this is hats off to Dublin Camogie, like looking for records of previous winners and stuff like that. Their website's superb. They've all the roads of honour. They've all the results from previous championships and everything. So really, really on top of it. And the sponsors of that championship are kind of a website called We Are Dublin. They do a lot of promotion work around all the sport, all the GA sports in Dublin. Really, really promote the game as well. So fair play to the lads there. They're really doing great work. Vincent's are going for 4 in a row. They're obviously the Leinster champions as well, so they're hot favourites. They absolutely destroyed Ballyboden in the semi-final. I think it was something like 123 to 3 points or something like that. Just trimmed them. So they'll be coming in fresh. Jude's did a good win against Lucan as well. Beat them by 8 or 9 points as well. It's a repeat of last year's final. Jude's never really got going last year in the final. And look, they're going for their first ever title, as we said. So I suppose they'll have to make a breakthrough at some stage, don't they? But it's hard to see it happening on Sunday, to be honest with you. 12 points is a big gap to close in 12 months against the team playing with the confidence that Vincent's are. You see Ballygunner and Waterford last Sunday, it's just, they'll go in expecting to win, they'll go in with a swagger, and it's very difficult to stop that momentum, you know. So, look, I think we'll stick with our original prediction at the start of the year, which is Vincent's. We're not going to change boats now.
No, definitely not. And again, Vincent's will go in hot favourites. But again, as you said, there's great credit due again to Dublin Camogie. They're streaming that final. That's Sunday at 3 o'clock, and their social media will have details of that. And I suppose we'll be retweeting that link as well. I suppose we go down the road to Wexford. Our good old friend JJ Dial, who appeared on the show on our first episode. His team, St. Martin's, looking to retain their title against their old rivals, Aula.
Yeah, look, Martin's going for 4 in a row as well. So look, there's a couple of dominant club teams in Leinster, and I suppose they've clashed with Vincent's in a couple of Leinster finals as well, and come out the wrong side a couple of times. There's no doubt about it. Martin's are a class outfit. You'd imagine with the talent they have and with JJ as the coach, like they should be winning All Ireland clubs really. And I'd say like that's the motivating factor for them. Like I'd say they're probably looking past. Well, they're not going to take all that for granted, of course, they're not. But I do think they have bigger aspirations than just winning the 4 in a row in Wexford. Over the last couple of years in the Ashbourne, we've played Maynooth, we've played DCU, played UCD, and the best players are coming across are the Martins players. Like Sarah O'Connor there at DCU, Linda Bulger with Maynooth, and Chloe Fox, we mentioned here in the podcast before, an outstanding performer for UCD. They're just performing at an elite level, and to have all those players in a club team like Mags Darcy in goals, and all these players are just top class. Oulart, we mentioned before, nearly like a throwback team to a different era. Like they still have all the legends playing with them. Karen Atkinson and Ursula Jacob and the Stories and all these and the Kyo's and the whole lot. And I suppose they do have a bit of young talent coming through, like Vinay Kern that would have played for WIT and that the Ashbourne, but I just don't think they have enough. They've failed to beat them, in the last few county finals and semi-finals and stuff, and it's just very hard to see anything other than the Martins win. So look, we'll stay with the safe option, but it's just difficult to see it. Like Martins will be hoping to win an Ulster Championship and be competitive in February, March in the club championship. So yeah, it's hard to see him stumbling at the final block here in Wexford.
So we're going so far so well. We've three predictions, and 3 predictions are coming along nicely.
Yeah.
But again, Wexford Camogie are live streaming that their county final on Saturday at 5:30, I think.
Yeah.
And again, look at their social media for details of that stream. But again, it's great credit due to be promoting these games.
Mm-hmm.
Just over the road in Kilkenny, we've semi-finals here. Both games are on Sunday, 2:00 and 4:00. And again, I think both games are streamed as well, which is again great credit to the Camogie, to Kilkenny Camogie. First game, Thomastown versus Young Ireland's.
Yeah, that's ourselves. Great credit to Kilkenny Camogie. In fairness, there's great coverage of the game down there. There's always every week there's a key game in the Kilkenny people as well. The PRO. Aoife Lanigan has a big match report of a game they pick out and stuff like that. So they really do promote it. It's on in Dunmore as well, which is the county training ground, which is a lovely ground, lovely facility as well. So it really just adds that little bit of a sense of occasion to it and stuff like that. I suppose from foreign point of view, we beat Dixborough last week, which is a cracking game. Dixborough, the county champions, really good side. Like they're the dominant team in underage in Kilkenny and have all these young players coming through. We were delighted with it, to be honest. We have a very young side. We finished with a lot of minors on the team, and it just hopefully to give them a bit of confidence to drive on. Young Ireland's a very young side as well, but they have a lot of experience. Sarah Ann Quinlan, her Sadzi, full forward. Steffi Fitzgerald, her sister, centre back, centre forward. And Ciara O'Keefe, who I'm hoping is coming into well in midfield. So, Ciara, if you want to be looked after, so we take it handy on Sunday. I know, but look, they're a serious outfit. 2 young teams. I think they played in the championship last year, and there was nothing between them. So. We'll see how that goes. The other semi-final, I suppose it would be between a lot of people's favourites for the championship. I think if you ask most Kilkenny Camogie people who they think is going to win, they pick either Clara or Loughlin's. To be honest with you, Clara have been racking up monster scores in the championship. They have a player, Mary O'Connell, who plays wing forward for them, and she's just been shooting the lights out, just hitting 110, 111 in games. Really solid. We talked about Loughlin's on here before. They're just solid from start to finish. Laura Hegarty, the WIT captain, in the full back line. Claire Phelan, probably the best centre back in the country, centre back. And Dalton, the magician, wing forward. The Lydia Fitzpatrick, centre forward, would have been the big up and coming star in Kilkenny for years. And look, they're a real solid outfit. That game is hard to call. Like, you wouldn't be overly surprised if both of the games at the weekend in Kilkenny went to extra time, to be quite honest with you. I just think, looking at results going through the championship, there's nothing between any of the 4 teams. Last year's 2 finalists are gone. Piltown were gone last weekend. We knocked out the Borough. It's wide open, absolutely wide open. So I'm
going to push you for.
There's going to be no predictions. Sure, I'm not going to back against ourselves. So give it the cliche.
So you're going Thomastown. So that's one. And who are you going for the other?
We have to go Thomastown. I'm not going to say we're going to be beaten. So it's hardly going to be a controversial thing to say. Oh yeah, I think we'd be backing ourselves. Of course, we back ourselves.
And then say
I think Loughlin's might have it. Yeah, I think they struggled last week against Tullerone, but I think they have a bit of class. It depends on whether they have whether Clara's firing power stays going from like whether they.
Well, I don't want to hear these excuses.
Just trying to take you through. Look, I put to the pin in my collar. I'll go with Freshford. I'll go with St. Lachlan's. St. Lachlan's this Stoney will win that. I think. Win the championship. St. Lachlan's this Stoney will win the championship.
I was just going to say, can I put you for a winner of the championship then?
Yeah, we'll go with Lachlan's. We'll see how it goes after the weekend.
Again, we go next door to Waterford. Again, this championship is really coming along nicely into the semi-final stage here. And again, you have the champions Galtier versus against Tramore. Then you have De La Salle and St. Anne's. Again, two cracking games. I know where my predictions are, but again, you're the man talking about it.
Yeah, look, Galtier have really kind of just clicked into gear. We would have played them in a challenge match, I suppose, early in the challenge match circuit, and we gave them a bit of a trim. And I think we left Passage that night, they were still on the field with Andy Maloney. So I'd say the law was laid down from that night, and since then they just seem to be gone in an upward curve. Now they did play that night without Trish Jackman and without Anya Ling, so take those two players out of any team, and it makes a massive difference, So. They've been motoring along. They're playing Tramore, who I don't know a whole pile about, to be honest with you. They beat Lismore by a point after extra time in the quarter final. Look, it's hard to see Galtier having any real issues with that. They should get into the final. The other game is a far more interesting game, De La Salle and St. Anne's. So St. Anne's will have come through top of the other group. Niamh Rocket plays for them, the Waterford captain. Look, she's widely renowned as one of the best forwards in the country, and he puts up massive scores in the club championship. De La Salle kind of feel, I suppose, they got a monkey off their back last weekend by beating Cappoquin in the quarter final. They just edged it. I think it was 10-9 or 9-8, something like that. Cappoquin would have beaten them in the semi-final last year, so they'll probably get a bit of a confidence boost out of that. And that just might be enough to give them an edge to get over St. Anne's. So I think our original prediction way back was groundbreaking. That we said De La Salle and Galtier get to the final, so we'll stick with that for the moment.
Over into Tipperary again, another two semi-finals here. Again, we have the usual suspects. We have Drummond and Cashel, and then the other clashes, Burgess and Clonalty. Yeah, two very interesting games, I suppose. Drummond and Cashel. Cashel have been playing very well in the championship so far. Orla Dwyer, as we know, is heading back to Australia for another season in the Aussie rules. So it could be one of her last camogie games before she heads away for the winter again. She'll be a loss to us, and you well know, to be honest, we haven't had her last couple of years between injuries and Aussie rules and stuff like that. So we'll definitely miss her. But yeah, look, Drummond are a serious side. Like you go through them, and they have some of the top performers from the Tipperary county, not just county panelists, just some of their key players. Cueva Bourke and goal, Miriam Campion up front. Emer McGrath is the new up and coming talent at Tipperary. And look, they're just a serious outfit, and it's difficult to see them being beaten there. So I think they'll get a shot at defending their title on county final day. The other game is hard to call. Look, we know Burgess, I suppose, have been a bit hit and miss the last couple of years. So they got caught maybe in the county final last year. Up to that, they've been very consistent in Tipperary. They still have some of the best players in the game, like Ginny Grace, Kieran Maher. They have serious forwards. Clonalty have kind of, again, I suppose, after they got a bit of a trimming off Drummond in the first round, and then they really picked up and saw a bit of their game against Silvermines on the live stream last week. And they looked to be motoring really well. Interestingly enough, they'd picked Caught Van at 10, and she kind of had a free roll going out around midfield. She had a couple of huge scores from the middle of the field, so you can't give her any time and space on the ball at all. So it'll be interesting to see what way they'll set up. Probably still go with Burgess, just that they'll just have a little bit too much for Clonalty, I think. If Clonalty had their full deck, like Sarah Friday is a huge loss to them at club level. If they had their full deck, maybe they would have a better chance. But we'll go with Burgess there. It's Drummond Burgess final, same as last year. And that'd be a difficult one to call in, but we'll stay on the favourites for the moment. And again, Tipperary Camogie, they're live streaming that Drummond Cashel game. Again, that's on Sunday, 12 o'clock. And again, look out on their social media channels for that. Yeah, the most positive thing about that is that you can watch it from your own home instead of having to go to the Rag, which is, I've been on record saying, is the worst ground in Ireland to go to for a male. I know, I'm only joking, just a bit harsh there. But massive credit to you. Tip Camogie are very strong on social media and their promotion of the game and stuff as well, in fairness to them. And then onto the local one here in Limerick. Again, a bit of controversy here, as you said there, when they kind of mixed up their fixtures a small bit. But again, there's no surprise here with the two semi-finals. We have a hand in Kilkenny, and then we have Granagh, Ballingarry and Newcastle West. Two cracking games again.
Yeah, two cracking games. I suppose like there was a bit of a shock there. Well, not a shock, but I suppose Newcastle West beat a hand there at the weekend, and maybe a lot of people would have felt that without Rebecca the lead at a hand, or Newcastle West wouldn't be the same force, but they got the job done. Granagh Ballingarry haven't been firing on all cylinders, but I think they were missing a couple of players. They haven't quite clicked. They have a really good management team. I think they're trying to play a specific game plan. And I suppose they're waiting for it to click someday, and it'll work out for them. But like Kilkenny have been absolutely flying. They're long overdue a championship. It's a good number of years since they would one. They would have been traditionally very strong towards the early part of the last decade. And they still have a few of those warriors flying around the place, like Michelle Casey and these, but they have a young Shanahan there playing wing forward that is just knocking over points for fun, and she seems to be the big white hope in Limerick camogie at the moment. Yeah, look, Granagh, I suppose, are lucky that we're in lockdown because Sarah Carey got married there yesterday, so I'd say the whole squad would have been trying to straighten themselves out for a couple of days ahead of a semi-final at the weekend if under normal circumstances. So they're probably a bit lucky there was a lockdown. So look, I think if we had to call it, I think Newcastle West will have enough for Granagh. I think just on form, Granagh just haven't been firing. Like in Limerick, you'd be very slow to ever bet against Granagh because they'll always pull out a performance when you least suspect it. They're just an experienced side with good forwards. But I would expect Newcastle West to win that. And on the other side, I think a hand have nearly always had the upper hand on Kilkenny over the last number of years, but Kilkenny seems to be the form team. I think Niamh Mull hit all of a hand's 1-9 the other night, which wouldn't be really anything unusual for her, but they just don't seem to have the forwards to support her and to get in around her. If you man mark Mull, they don't have a whole pile else. I presume Kilkenny will be tactically smart enough to do that. So we'll go for a Kilkenny Newcastle West final, which will be outstanding to go to. There'll be tribal warfare. There'll be a crowd of that regardless. Best of luck keeping Newcastle West and Kilkenny supporters out of a Newcastle West Kilkenny final anyway, if that's what comes out. That's all I'd say.
We'll move on over to Offaly, one of your favourite counties. We have St. Ryan, another semi-final, two semi-finals here. We have St. Ryan's and Bourke, and then we have Shinrona and St. Killian's.
Yeah, look, St. Ryan's, again, it hardly takes an expert to predict it, have been just kind of cutting a swad through the championship there quite easily. Look, serious club side, as we said before, serious management. They topped their group. I think the Bourke aren't as strong in camogie as they are in hurling. So when you see the name Bourke, you nearly always subconsciously give them a chance in anything, but it's not really the reality in camogie, to be quite honest. So you'd expect Ryan's to come through quite comfortably there. The other semi-final could be a little bit tighter. I suppose, like, for people who don't know, Shinrona would have been the kind of the dominant force in Offaly camogie before Ryan's came along. Ryan's only won their first title a couple of years ago. They would have been junior maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So like they still have, I suppose, the remnants of a really, really strong side in Shinrona. Obviously Michaela Markham, their Gran Yegan is a great scoring threat up front as well. So they're still kind of quite strong, even though they're not the dominant force they would have been. St. Killian's will be kind of, I suppose, heavily reliant on the two Brennans, Ashley and Ciara, that play for WIT and play for Offaly. I think Shinrona will come through there. So you'll be looking at a kind of a good traditional Offaly final, Banagher Shinrona, Ryan's against Shinrona. So we'll go with that.
And then Ryan's for the final, to win the final as well. Just
putting that out. I think look, they're one of these teams that are going to be looking at, I suppose, beating Galtier again in the intermediate final, probably the way the camogie is set up, which is a strange one. But yeah, look, they have bigger aspirations than just retaining the Offaly title, you know.
Yeah, we discussed it later.
We've discussed it before. We won't flag it to death. We give them a break.
Last but not least, we've another two crackers in Galway. Again, as we said, our dark horses, Oranmore, they're against Ardrahan. And then in the other game, we have Sarsfields and Athenry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, Sarsfields Athenry is the first game. I suppose, again, great credit due to Galway. They reached out just during the week, gave us a couple of media passes to go to the games if we wanted to cover them. Got emails there of digital copies of the programs because there'd be no programs on the day, and it's like, geez, superbly well organised, like, you know, so great credit due to them as well. That's exactly how it should be run, and it's just, you know, really well, like, they have great coverage on social media as well. The first game is an interesting one. Look, there's no two ways about it. Sarsfields are the clear favourites. That's obvious. But Athenry are building slowly. They're getting stronger at underage. They obviously have Noreen Cohn, probably play corner forward, who's a serious threat to go all the corner forward. And they have a couple. My brother teaches in Athenry, and like, he coaches the camogie team there in the Pres. And they have a few of the young rabbits coming up. They're Joe's daughters. I remember Joel played in the 90s, and they're going to be the real deal as well. So look, Athenry are turning into are just maturing slowly into a strong senior team. But I think obviously this is a year or two too soon for them, and Sarsfields with their strength will win comfortably there. I think the other one is the game, I suppose, that we've been kind of waiting for since the draw was made. It kind of looked like Ardrahan would be second in Group A and Oranmore with top Group B, and they were always going to collide in this semi-final. And like, I suppose it's a real one of these club battles that you see between an old traditional battle-hardened team that kind of is used to getting the job done and has picked off a few titles against, I suppose, the young upstarts that are kind of coming up and have all the talent. I suppose it's just a case of who reacts better to the pressure on the day. You have two massive matchups here in this game. If Ailish O'Reilly plays a full forward for Oranmore, she doesn't always play full forward there. She can be out at 11 sometimes. But if she plays full forward for Oranmore, she's likely to be picked up by Shauna Healy, her county colleague. And that will be interesting. Shauna Healy will be one of the tougher old school full-backs, I think, or cornerbacks. So you could expect sparks to fly there. And then up the other end, I suppose, a battle between two players who will be definitely kind of coming onto Colin Murray's radar for a senior. The Ava Linsky, who played at DCU and played full forward for the Galway Intermediates last year, and Roisin Black, who's been on the Galway panel as well. Two of the kind of the young stars coming through in Galway. Roisin Black will be centre back for Oranmore, and Ava Linsky probably be centre forward for Ardrahan. That they're the two key battles really. Oranmore will be looking to get Niamh Hannafy on the ball a lot around midfield. Be interesting to see if she plays out and out midfield or if she'll end up in the forwards. And obviously Rebecca Henley will have a huge part to play for Ardrahan as well, from frees and from play. So look, it's an absolutely massive game. It's probably the game of the weekend of all the games. It's the kind of one you're going, this could really go either way. But I suppose we kind of, like, seems we highlighted Oranmore right from the start as a dark horse. Very slowly, we'll just edge them for this one. But again, this could be one of these ones that goes to extra time. A few games have gone to extra time in Galway this year. So yeah, look, we'll go with Oranmore by the narrowest of margins, I think.
And that's the thing, in a lot of the games in the camogie championships around the counties, a lot of the games have gone to extra time, which is great credit to both clubs and the counties that they're so well matched teams that are getting to that stage. Like even in Clare the weekend, it was on live stream into semi or into extra time, and it's extra. In my opinion, extra time is the way to go down the line, even for inter-county. I would
don't fancy penalties, no?
No, I'll put a stop on the penalty side of things.
So if there's anyone from Fecal listening to this and really gets a penalty in extra time, just whisper in his ear, you don't fancy this game, do you? You don't fancy this game, do you? Yeah, no, look, it's interesting. I have a couple of theories on it. I think, like, you'll know yourself, look, I suppose you've been on county panels as a regular starter, and I suppose you've been on county panels as someone maybe not getting much game time. Like, if you're coming back into a club scene and you've played every single minute for your county and you've got a week or 10 days to kind of go reset, get up and go again, that can be difficult. If you've been on a county panel all summer and all you're doing is training and not playing games, you can go pretty rusty as well. And often, like, county players don't perform for their clubs at times in games. Whereas this year, it just seems that all the top players in every club are training together all the time. They're playing loads of matches. Like, the standard has gone up. Every club seems to be performing to their full potential. And it just means the standard has gone up. The playing field is evened out a little bit. And like, as you said, there's some really, really tight games. Really, really tight games. So yeah, that's, I suppose that's another conversation about split seasons and stuff like that we don't need to have today. But yeah, serious weekend to camogie ahead. It's just a matter now kind of getting a list out now and seeing what games we watch and what ones are clashing and not clashing and stuff like that.
That's the thing. There's so many games at the weekend, and we will wrap it up here. There's so many games at the weekend. There's so many live streams. We will be tweeting as many as we can, all the streams we can out. Look onto the social media page, as we said, on the different counties that will have the couple of semi-finals and finals on the live stream. Again, thank you very much for your insight and
for putting my neck on the line.
Yeah,
everyone gets all the texts going, oh, what do you mean by this, what do you mean by that? So yeah, I'm glad. We must put up the old Scariff clip on Instagram again. Actually, Scariff. Lovely point of Guinness in Mike Max. He tells a good story as well. We're pro Scariff here, so yeah.
But we'll wrap it up there, and thanks very much for listening, and don't forget to like, subscribe and do your thing on social media, and we'll all talk to you again next week.